That's not a cat. It's a monster. Jessica's shrill voice echoed through her pristine living room as Magnus, my son's Maine Coon, gracefully jumped onto the windowsill. Sarah, you can't possibly expect that thing to stay here. I watched my sister-in-law's face contort with disgust as she stared at our beloved family pet. Magnus was admittedly impressive at just over 25 pounds and nearly 4 feet long from nose to tail tip. But he was also the gentlest soul I ever met. Jessica, we discussed this, I said, keeping my voice level. It's only for 3 weeks while our house is being renovated. Magnus is well behaved and Tyler needs him. I glanced at my 12-year-old son, who was already having difficulty adjusting to staying at his aunt's house. Well behaved, Jessica scoffed, adjusting her designer blazer. Look at all the hair it's already shedding. And those paw prints on my imported tiles. She pointed accusingly at invisible marks on her spotless floor. Tyler moved closer to Magnus, his hand protectively stroking the cat's silver-gray fur. His name is Magnus, Aunt Jessica, not it, and he doesn't shed that much. I'd always known Jessica had an issue with pets. Her house looked more like a furniture showroom than a home. But her reaction to Magnus seemed excessive, even for her. Ever since Tyler had rescued him from a local shelter 3 years ago, Jessica had made it her mission to criticize everything about him. 3 weeks, Jessica muttered, typing furiously on her phone. 3 weeks of that monster terrorizing my perfect home. Mark my words, Sarah, if that thing breaks anything. Magnus won't break anything, Tyler interrupted, his voice quiet but firm. He's smart and careful. That's why the shelter said he was special. Jessica rolled her eyes. Special? Please, it's just an oversized stray that got lucky. I still can't believe you chose that thing over a purebred cat. I bit back a sharp retort, reminding myself we needed this temporary arrangement. Our house renovations had hit unexpected complications, and Jessica's place was the only option available on such short notice. My husband, Tom, Jessica's brother, was away on a business trip, leaving me alone to handle this delicate situation. That first night, I caught Jessica taking photos of Magnus, muttering about documenting the damage. She followed him around with her phone, snapping pictures whenever he even looked at her precious furniture. Mom, Tyler whispered as we unpacked in the guest room, I don't think Aunt Jessica likes Magnus. Your aunt just needs time to adjust, I said, though I shared his concerns. Magnus will win her over. However, Jessica's behavior grew increasingly hostile over the next few days. She'd accidentally spray Magnus with water if he came too close to her designer couch, claiming she was just watering her plants. She'd blast loud music whenever he tried to nap, insisting it was part of her daily routine. The breaking point came exactly 1 week into our stay. I returned from grocery shopping to find Tyler in tears and Magnus nowhere in sight. Mom. Tyler ran to me, his words tumbling between sobs. Aunt Jessica said. Magnus knocked over her crystal vase, but he was with me the whole time. Now she's saying he has to go. I found Jessica in her home office, looking too pleased with herself. Sarah, be reasonable, she said before I could speak. That monster is too big for this house. I've already called animal control. They'll be here within the hour. You did what? I fought to keep my voice steady. Jessica, you have no right. I have every right, she snapped. It's my house, and that thing is a menace. Did you know Maine Coons aren't even real cats? They're part wildcat or wolf or something equally dangerous. I've been doing my research. I almost laughed at the absurdity of her statement, but then I saw the glint in her eyes. This wasn't about Magnus. This was about control, about Jessica's need to dominate every situation. Show me the broken vase, I demanded. Jessica's smile faltered. I had cleaned it up already, for safety. Really? Because Tyler says Magnus was with him all morning. And I know Magnus is microchipped and DNA registered. The shelter required it. Would you like to see his records? DNA registered. Jessica's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone, quickly finding the email from the shelter. The shelter had all its rescue cats tested through a new genetics program. They track lineage, breed authenticity, and even potential health issues. Magnus's results were interesting. Jessica's face paled slightly. Interesting. How? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Jessica jumped up. That must be animal control. Finally. But when I opened the door, it wasn't animal control. Instead, a distinguished-looking woman in a lab coat stood there, holding a tablet and wearing an ID badge from the National Feline Genetics Laboratory. "Mrs. Harrison," she asked, looking at me. "I'm Dr. Eleanor Phillips. We've been trying to reach you about your Maine Coon's DNA results. There's something quite extraordinary we need to discuss." Dr. Phillips sat in Jessica's pristine living room, her tablet displaying complex genetic charts, while Magnus lounged regally on the floor beside Tyler. Jessica hovered anxiously by her precious vase collection, her phone still clutched in her hand. "As I was saying," Dr. Phillips continued, her eyes bright with excitement, "Magnus's DNA test revealed something remarkable. His genetic markers match those of a legendary line of Maine Coons bred for Russian nobility in the late 1800s. I blinked in surprise. Russian nobility? Yes. Dr. Phillips nodded enthusiastically. The Romanov family maintained a specific breeding program for what they called their imperial cats. These Maine Coons were known for their exceptional size, intelligence, and unique silver-gray coloring, exactly like Magnus. Tyler beamed, scratching behind Magnus's ears. The massive cat purred contentedly, seemingly aware he was the center of attention. That's impossible." Jessica sputtered. "It's just a shelter cat." Dr. Phillips smiled patiently. "Many of these imperial cats were smuggled out during the Russian Revolution. Their descendants scattered across Europe and eventually worldwide. We've been tracking this particular bloodline for years. Magnus is one of only 5 known living descendants. I remembered the day we'd found Magnus at the shelter. He'd been huddled in a corner of his cage, massive but gentle, his intelligent eyes following our every move. The shelter workers had mentioned he'd been found wandering near the docks with no collar or chip at the time. So he's not just special," Tyler said proudly, "he's royal." "Precisely," Dr. Phillips agreed. "Our laboratory would like to include Magnus in our breeding program. With your permission, of course. His genetics are invaluable for preserving this historic bloodline." Jessica sank into her designer armchair, her face a mixture of shock and dismay. The animal control van she'd been watching for through the window drove past without stopping. Apparently, she'd canceled the call when Dr. Phillips arrived. "The compensation for participating in the breeding program is quite generous," Dr. Phillips continued, "and Magnus would only need to visit our facility occasionally. We've already had interest from several prestigious catteries." "Compensation?" Jessica's head snapped up. "How much are we talking about?" "That's not important right now," I interjected, seeing the calculating look in my sister-in-law's eyes. "What matters is what's best for Magnus and Tyler." Dr. Phillips pulled up another document on her tablet. "We've also discovered something else fascinating about Magnus's genetic profile. These imperial cats were specifically bred for their therapeutic properties." "Therapeutic properties?" Tyler asked, looking confused. "Yes. Their unique genetic marker makes them especially attuned to human emotions. They were originally bred to be companions for the royal children. Their size and temperament made them perfect emotional support animals, though they didn't use that term back then. I thought about how Magnus always seemed to know when Tyler was upset, how he'd curl his massive body around my son during thunderstorms or after a bad day at school. What we attributed to typical cat behavior was an inherited trait. That explains so much," I murmured, watching Magnus gently headbutt Tyler's hand. Jessica stood up abruptly. "Well, if he's so valuable, perhaps he shouldn't stay here. I mean, my house isn't equipped for such a prestigious pet." "Oh, I wouldn't worry," Dr. Phillips chirped. "These cats are known for their careful nature. They're quite fastidious about not damaging their surroundings. It's another bred trait. They were meant to live in palaces after all." Jessica's face flushed as she glanced at her precious vase collection, the ones she'd accused Magnus of endangering. I may have overreacted earlier," she admitted reluctantly. "Speaking of earlier," I set my voice firm, "I think you owe Tyler and Magnus an apology." Before Jessica could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her eyes widened. The cat blogs are going crazy. Someone posted about a Romanov cat being discovered. She looked accusingly at Dr. Phillips. "News travels fast in the cat fancy world." Dr. Phillips shrugged. "Magnus's DNA results are quite exciting for the breeding community. I've already received several calls from cat shows interested in featuring him. Tyler's eyes lit up. Cat shows? Could we enter Magnus in shows, Mom? If you're interested, Dr. Phillips said, Magnus would certainly be welcome. His lineage makes him notable, but his size and coloring are exceptional even for his breed. I watched as Jessica's attitude underwent a remarkable transformation. Suddenly, the monster cat was our distinguished house guest, and she was rapidly texting her friends about her connection to feline royalty. Perhaps we could work something out, Jessica said, trying to sound casual. About them staying here longer, I mean, Magnus needs a proper environment and my house does have the right aesthetic. I caught Dr. Phillips hiding a smile behind her tablet. The same cat Jessica had tried to evict an hour ago was now apparently worthy of her precious house. But I noticed she kept her distance from Magnus, eyeing him with respect and lingering nervousness. We'll stick to the original 3 weeks, I said firmly, but it's good to know Magnus will be welcome here. As if understanding he'd been vindicated, Magnus stood up, stretched his considerable length, and deliberately padded to Jessica's favorite white couch. We all watched as he delicately settled himself on the floor beside it, close enough to make a statement but carefully avoiding contact with the expensive fabric. Now then, Dr. Phillips said, pulling out some forms, shall we discuss the details of the breeding program? And perhaps you'd like to hear more about Magnus's royal ancestors. Over the next 2 weeks, our lives transformed in unexpected ways. Magnus, once the monster of Jessica's nightmares, became her social media star. She even rearranged her living room to create a royal cat corner, complete with an elaborate cat tree she insisted on buying. It's for his noble breeding, she explained as if she hadn't been trying to get rid of him just days ago. A Romanov descendant can't sleep on regular cat furniture. Tyler found the situation amusing, especially when Jessica's snobbish friends started visiting with expensive cat treats and gifts for Magnus. Our laid-back Maine Coon accepted the attention with typical feline indifference, though he still preferred his old bed from home and Tyler's company to all the fancy new accessories. The breeding program turned out to be more fascinating than we'd imagined. Dr. Phillips arranged for Magnus to meet his future mate, a beautiful female Maine Coon named Aurora, whose lineage also traced back to the imperial cats. The introduction occurred at the genetics lab, with Jessica insisting on coming along to document this historic moment. This could be the start of rebuilding the entire imperial line, Dr. Phillips explained as we watched Magnus and Aurora size each other up. Their kittens would be incredibly valuable, both genetically and historically. Tyler, who'd been quiet during most of these discussions, finally spoke up. But Magnus will still live with us, right? He won't have to stay at the lab. Of course, he'll stay with you, Dr. Phillips assured him. We only need him here for scheduled visits. His home environment, especially his bond with Tyler, is crucial for maintaining his excellent temperament. Jessica, who'd been filming everything on her phone, suddenly gasped. Oh my goodness, look at my followers. The video of Magnus's royal cat corner has gone viral. I eye-rolled with Tyler. Jessica's social media transformation from cat critic to cat enthusiast was perhaps the most entertaining part of this whole experience. She'd even started referring to herself as Magnus's aunt in her posts. As our 3 weeks at Jessica's house drew close, I noticed another unexpected change. Tyler, who'd always been shy and reserved, had grown more confident. Having his cat recognized as special helped him feel special too. He'd started giving little presentations to Jessica's visitors about Maine Coon history and Magnus's imperial lineage. Jessica surprised us all the day before we were due to move back home. I've been thinking, she said over breakfast, trying to sound casual. Your house renovations must have been quite expensive. Perhaps I could help. The breeding program compensation could cover it easily. I looked at her carefully. That's very generous, Jessica, but Magnus is Tyler's cat. Any compensation from the program will go into a savings account for his future. Oh, Jessica looked genuinely disappointed. Well, at least let me host Magnus's first official cat show appearance. I've already been in touch with some organizers. Actually, Tyler interrupted. Dr. Phillips said we should wait on shows. Magnus needs to focus on the breeding program first, and too much excitement might stress him out. Jessica deflated slightly but nodded. Of course. We must think of his royal duties first. As we packed up our belongings that evening, I found Magnus in his royal corner, completely ignoring the expensive cat tree in favor of the cardboard box Tyler had given him to play with. Some things never change, do they? I laughed, watching the massive cat squeeze himself into the too small box. Mom, Tyler said thoughtfully, do you think Magnus always knew he was special? Even at the shelter? I looked at our extraordinary pet, who was now purring contentedly in his box. Despite his royal blood, he was the picture of ordinary cat behavior. I think Magnus knew exactly who he was, I replied. He was just waiting for the right people to figure it out too. Later that night, as we said our goodbyes, Jessica actually hugged Magnus, something I never thought I'd see. You're welcome back anytime, she told him earnestly. Both of you, she added, smiling at Tyler. As we drove home, Tyler was sleeping in the back seat with Magnus protectively curled around him, and I couldn't help but smile. Our monster cat had done more than prove his royal heritage. He'd helped bridge family divides, boost my son's confidence, and even soften Jessica's rigid worldview. Dr. Phillips mentioned that imperial cats were bred to bring people together, provide comfort, and foster understanding. Looking at my son and his extraordinary pet, I realized Magnus had been doing precisely that all along, DNA test or not. When we finally walked into our newly renovated house, Magnus took a regal tour of his domain, checking each room before settling in his favorite window spot, the one Jessica once claimed was being ruined by cat hair. Welcome home, Your Highness, Tyler giggled, scratching Magnus's chin. The massive cat just purred, perfectly content being exactly who he'd always been. Royal blood, standard box, and all.